Welcome to the Purple Political Breakdown. How are you doing? And today I'm going to be kind of breaking down my thoughts about the Vivek interview with Flagrant with Andrew Schultz and his crew. And I'll be honest, I only watched the first 30 minutes. Now I know you're going to get upset. I only watched the first 30 minutes. I had stuff to do, and there's a lot to say after 30 minutes. If you want me to react to the full thing, give it 100 likes and I'll react to the full thing, of course. But I'm just going to react to the things I'm saying. If he kind of answered these things later on, feel fine. I'm willing to be wrong. I have no problem. But there are a lot of interesting pieces that I want to discuss, of course. So, with that said, hope you guys enjoy, like, and subscribe. We're on our daily grind, posting a video every single day. Make sure you check out the podcast, purplepoliticalbreakdown.com, to see all the great solutions we come up with. Political bias without political solutions without political bias is the motto. Let's dive right into it. So, the first thing that I saw in terms of Vivek in this conversation is that obviously they talked about Trump. Schultz started out by calling him his VP, which is kind of funny considering his whole entire campaign was basically just to be his VP. And Vivek said that there was synergy between him and Trump. And then Schultz brought out, "Oh yeah, Trump said this thing," and he said, "Oh, we have great synergy, but this guy called me not MAGA and I'm a wolf in sheep's clothing. Oh, we're just running for president. You know what I'm saying? It's all fine." Again, I think Vivek kind of looked like a sheep after Trump did that and he said nothing in response. And now he wants to be his VP. That kind of tells you everything you need to know about his presidency campaign. It was fraudulent. That's the truth. It was fraudulent. But he talks about things a little bit more. He says that Trump, the reason why he was great is he kept us out of war and grew the economy. Now, something I'm going to say in regards to that is one, fair to an extent. I think there's a little bit more nuance to it in terms of the United States. We're technically not in a war, but we have a side that we're on. And I think, to be fair, there was COVID happening, so war during COVID didn't really make sense. But if there's a war going on, more than likely, especially when it involves our allies, then we are always going to get involved. I'd be more curious to see what Trump would have done if he saw Israel in a panic. And what was he going to do? Because Trump did recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel while he was president. And that pissed off a lot of people from Palestine. So I'm curious to see what Trump would have done regarding that. As for the Putin and the Ukraine situation, now Ukraine's not an ally, and Trump was kind of friendly with Putin. So he makes it sound like he would be able to talk down Putin. But what if Putin says no and says, "I'm doing it anyway"? What then? So a little disingenuous in terms of the climate during Trump's presidency, but hey, fair enough. There was no wars really going on in terms of national attention wars, but fair enough, I guess. Fair enough, I guess. And then he talked about how he grew the economy. Now, I have a couple of facts that I want to give you from factcheck.org. During Trump's presidency, the economy lost 2.9 million jobs. The unemployment rate increased by 1.6 percentage points to 6.3%. Paychecks grew faster than inflation. Average weekly earnings for all workers were up 8.7% after inflation. Now, I'm going to tell you all this information purely from fact to fact. I'm not going to leave out a fact just because it proves or disproves a point that I'm making. I'm just telling you what I saw when I looked up what Trump did for the economy. So make up your own opinion regarding the facts. After-tax corporate profits went up and the stock market set new records. The S&P 500 index rose 67.8%. The international trade deficit Trump promised to reduce went up. The U.S. trade deficit in goods and services in 2020 was the highest since 2008 and increased 40.5% from 2016. The number of people lacking health insurance rose by 3 million. The federal debt held by the public went up from 14.4 trillion to 21.6 trillion. Home prices rose 27.5%, and the home ownership rate increased 2.1 percentage points to 65.8%. Illegal immigration increased. Apprehensions at the southwest border rose 14.7%. Coal production declined 26.5%. Coal mining jobs dropped by 16.7%. Carbon emissions from energy consumption dropped 11.5%. Handgun production rose 12.5%. The murder rate last year, or the murder rate in the year before, I believe 2016 when this was created, rose. And then Trump filled 1/3 of the Supreme Court. So these are some facts. I included some other because I'm just reading it off that is not related to the economy. But there's some positives and there's some negatives. So, it's not all encompassing saying that Trump overall just like did wonders for the economy. It's a little disingenuous, especially when COVID happened. He did some things that a lot of Republicans actually didn't like in terms of how Trump handled COVID, of course. So, yeah, but, Vivek, all good Trump, best president of all time, you know what I'm saying? So it is what it is, I guess. He further goes into how he believed in the deep state and how everybody's a part of the cog in the machine, and that he said a true outsider needs to change the country. Crazy thing about this is I watched a part of him saying that he doesn't believe in the deep state. So I'm going to save that from when I get it. I'm going in chronological order for a reason. I'm going to save that. This is how I've seen it. But the fact that he says he doesn't really believe in the deep state blew my mind, because from what it sounded like from me when it came to Vivek is he wholeheartedly believed in the deep state, and all the Vivek supporters believed in the deep state. So I'm going to dive into that when the time comes. Next, he says it's all related to the bureaucrats. He says people who run the government should run the government, not unelected bureaucrats. I feel like Vivek knows this, but I don't know why he keeps on saying this. The people that is elected to the executive branch by the people are the people that are choosing the bureaucrats. Like, we understand the executive branch is the one that chooses leadership for the bureaucracy, right? So you choose the person you trust to run the executive branch, and then he chooses his people. That's how it works. Like, I don't know what else there is to say about that. That's just how it works. Did you not know that? That's what the executive branch is there to do. And you know what? Trump has fired people and hired people. Are you saying that the people that Trump hired is still part of the cog in the machine, the deep state? Like, I don't get it. I don't understand. What part of it are you complaining about? Because that's just how the system works. So we'll go back into that. He talks a little bit more about bureaucrats later on. He talks about the moral duty in terms of the nation. The moral duty of the government should be to the people and not to other countries. I feel like he's also being a little disingenuous here because he realizes that America is the most powerful and influential country in the world. We have allies across the world. We have trade partners across the world. If we don't do anything, that dwindles our influence. If we have allies and we don't help, that ruins our connections. I feel like Vivek is being disingenuous, saying that America can just be an isolationist state and just ignore the rest of the world. They can't. We can't. We're not Switzerland. We can't be neutral. We can't. So, again, a little disingenuous. Now, with that said, let me say a little positives, ladies and gentlemen. I like Vivek's sense of humor. He's actually a funny guy. I like his sense of humor, which is great. I feel like Republicans, from what not all Republicans, more like Vivek and Nikki Haley, Chris Christie was good. Having a sense of humor, lighten up the mood. I feel like Vivek has a great personality and a great sense of humor. And, he made some good jokes that I actually laughed. So shout out Vivek for that. This is another thing I'm going to praise Vivek for. So Schultz brought up how he said he believed in Jesus and other gods, with him being Hindu and talking about believing in Jesus. So I'm not going to touch that. I don't really know the context behind that. But he talked about his time running and his time being Hindu in India. Now, Republicans, this is my worry regarding Nikki Haley, is that you guys were going to be sexist and not vote her because she's a woman. I'm keeping the same energy. Republicans, if you're doing the same thing to Vivek because he's Hindu and Indian, that is disgusting. We should be better. We are in 2023. Who cares about your skin color? Who cares about your religion, religious affiliation? It's disgusting. Now, I actually give so many props for what happened next when he talked about it. He talked about how he spoke with a guy, a profound Christian, who wrote an article about Vivek being Hindu and how that's part of a cult. He had a genuine conversation with this guy, and the guy, although didn't really change his mind about not voting for Vivek, had more genuine words. And something that Vivek said I found extremely enlightening, because this is like the theme of the podcast. He said that he talked about how understanding his point of view, the guy that thinks that Vivek is part of a cult because he's Hindu, he said understanding his point of view was great because he realized that this guy was just looking out for the betterment of the country. And my podcast, I preach that all the time in terms of how you should perceive the left and the right. Because a lot of the times, the left thinks they're doing things that's in the betterment of the country. The right thinks they're doing things that's in the betterment of the country. The problem is people think that they're on the moral just side every single time, but in reality, y'all both think you're good, and that's where the friction is coming. And that the fact that Vivek had this realization makes me think that he can be better, because if you realize that not only is this guy who was racist towards you, you see the pros for him, you should be able to see the exact same thing for Democrats. You should. Please don't be one of those hypocritical guys that says, oh, I can see why this, and this, but only if you're Republican. Please, Vivek, the transformation you can make after this low point of being a fraudulent presidential candidate could really impress me, because this is the first step. Understanding where people are coming from. It's so important. It's so important. So next they talked about Nikki Haley. To kind of give you guys food for thought, so you guys don't feel like you guys are misled. I personally thought Nikki Haley, since the first debate panel, was the best candidate for the Republicans. I'm not Republican. I didn't know Nikki Haley at all until I saw that panel. I didn't know Vivek at all until I saw that panel. And I came out of that panel saying she was the best. So that's where I'm coming from. Vivek, where he's coming from, I think you guys should understand this perspective. He's endorsing Trump, and the only other contender against Trump is Nikki Haley right now. DeSantis dropped out. Vivek dropped out. The only person who could challenge Trump is Nikki Haley. So it makes sense that someone who's endorsing Trump and wants to be his VP is going to cook the woman that is going up against him. Now, Vivek may actually doesn't like her, and he kind of talked about it a little bit too. But that is the perspective that he's coming from. Just FYI for all of y'all, of course. So he talked about some things in reference to Nikki Haley. He says that Nikki Haley loves power, loves money, and is tied to the corporate. He's tied to the big, deep state, tied to the Gog and the machine, all that good stuff. And he says that Nikki Haley understands, well, this is what I wrote down. Nikki Haley understands how our authority now, how far she's willing to go, and why she wants to enact our influence is a legitimate question. I'm going to have to cut this out. What did I say? So Vivek talks about how Nikki Haley just wants to get us into wars and wants to like have all this power in the government. I mean, I think he's just saying stuff, but Nikki Haley, we have to understand, is that she was a UN ambassador. So she has a slew of international experience, of course. And she realizes the value of America and its influence on the rest of the world. Now, if you want to question her reasoning and her methods in terms of our international impact and our international involvement, fine. We can have that detail by detail conversation. But I'm going to tell you exactly what Nikki Haley said about both wars, Ukraine and Russia, and Israel and Palestine. First, Haley, one of the quotes was, Haley, however, said that American support should not come in the form of giving cash to Ukraine or putting troops on the ground, but rather by collaborating with allies to ensure that Ukraine has the equipment and ammunition to win. It was always So she doesn't want to just give Ukraine money, but she wants to prevent Russia from growing in influence and growing in power. And she doesn't want to incentivize China to invade Taiwan, which is an ally. So there's a lot of layers to this, but that's just her thoughts about the Ukraine-Russia situation. As for Israel and Palestine, she said, it was always the Palestinians and Iran opposing a two-state solution. They never wanted that because they wanted to eliminate Israel together. She said, later adding, whatever Israel says they will feel like will keep them safe, I will support. In 2017, Haley supported a two-state solution while she was the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. I want to keep everybody in mind is Israel is an ally of the United States of America. So us getting involved is just what we have to do, right? We have to get involved in some way. Whatever side you may be on regarding the Israel and Palestinian situation, one thing we do know is Hamas wants to eliminate all the Jews. So I don't know how that will be resolved and how much we are a part of it. I'm curious to see, but this is not a feud that's going to end anytime soon. For me, my personal opinion, until Hamas decides to put their guns down. That's just me. He also talks about how Nikki Haley, or Vivek says that Nikki Haley wants to do under-the-table violations of the people's constitutional rights by having social media accounts tied to your government-issued ID. Now, personally, after having so many conversations, I inherently don't know why this is a bad thing. I feel like people automatically assume that the government is just trying to get a hold of your information, even though they already do that. So I just want to be very clear. Vivek says, okay, government issued ID tied to social media accounts. Oh my God, that's against your constitutional rights. Keep in mind, Vivek is the same exact person who wants to ban kids from using TikTok. My question to you is, how do you verify their age? How do you verify their age? So I don't really know what he's trying to do regarding that. But social media and government issue IDs, the genuine question or conversation is, should you tie a face to the account? Because people try to get away with this anonymity all the time on social media and try to do and say despicable things on the internet. If social media is becoming another version of life, then you should be authentically you, right? I don't see the reason why we need people to be anonymous on a platform that is meant for discourse. Like discourse. We want Twitter to be a public square, right? Well, we know everybody's names, we know their faces on a public square, right? So there's no point in this whole idea of, oh, I just want to protect for what? The government knows your birthday. The government knows your social security. Like, you putting your ID on social media, like, so? Like, what is the genuine concern? Because when you sign up for social media, they know your birthday because you put your birthday in. They know your name. And if you start buying stuff, they even know more information. So I don't know, man. I don't know. He also talks about one thing that I said, I'm just looking through my notes. One thing that I said is that I like that Vivek is on Flagrant. And I think that more politicians should be able to go on these social media platforms and offer their perspective and be a part of the conversation. I think it's extremely lazy of people like Nikki Haley and people that, I guess Joe Biden is the other candidate, but people like Nikki Haley not going on these social media platforms and not going on these podcasts to give her genuine thoughts and having genuine conversations. You're not beyond the people. The people want to hear your authentic self, not just someone making a lecture. So I think more people, especially third parties, should be on social media platforms as much as possible, personally. And then the wrap things up, they talk about the deep state, they talk about, all that. And Schultz had a amazing analogy in terms of his understanding of the deep state from his experience versus the current terminology, right? Schultz brought up that how before he went to Hollywood, his impression is that the Illuminati, basically, I'm going to use a term we all understand, is like the Illuminati controlled everything. They were just a dark organization corrupting everybody. And he said, his words, that he learned how it really worked. He learned that people are trying to do things that make money. He learned that people are trying to adhere to the will of the people. Because at the end of the day, whether you agree with it or not, there's not a dark organization that's running out of Hollywood. What it is people who are super greedy and want to put money in their pockets. And they do whatever they can to put money in their pockets the easiest way they can. And they make they put like some of the most basic products out there, the most wokiest product, because they think they know. No, let me change it. They think they know what people want to see. That's the problem, right? That is the problem. These greedy elites don't know what the people want. They think they know. But it's not like this nefarious organization or anything. And Vivek's response was, he doesn't think there's nefarious people controlling everything in the government. I swear to God, Vivek made it seem, every time he talked about the government, he made it seem like that was the case. He also said that he doesn't love the words deep state. He loves the words managerial class. Man, bro, like, why keep on using the term? Why make it based on your words? Make it seem like you think there's this evil governmental officials trying to corrupt everything all the time. But your own words, the only issue you have is the bureaucracy and the middle management. So you have an issue with who the people from that is voted in to the executive branch, the president and his cabinet. You have an issue with the people he hires. But you make it sound like, oh, Nikki Haley's a cog in the machine. Mike Pence is the cog in the machine. Joe Biden's the cog in the machine. Kamala Harris is the cog in the... What? Your words are not matching up. And that's why I say Vivek is so much of a hypocrite. Because inherently, I think Vivek has the character. I think Vivek has the understanding. And I think Vivek has the moral virtues to be a leader, but you don't stand on business. Who are you, Vivek? I don't know. I really don't know who you are, because you say certain things and you don't keep the same energy on situations that inflict with your bias. So yeah, there's more to the podcast interview. If you want to see the full Vivek interview, make sure to watch it on Flagrant. That's all I got. Y'all have a good one. Take care. 100 likes and I'll react to the entire thing. Take care and peace.